loan from a bank. There's other underwriting fees, there's design fees, there's, all sorts of stuff in a budget, and that's how people get upside down in real estate. When you get too aggressive, somebody told me a few years ago when I was working on a deal, it's okay if we're wrong, let's just be wrong on the right side. Meaning, make sure you have enough money behind so that you can recover in case you're off on your numbers.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. It's happened to everybody in the business. And if you're wrong on the right side, then you can either pull that money down or you just put less money in. So I think that's a really important lesson in real estate if you're going to develop or acquire or hold long term. But don't over leverage yourself. Don't stretch yourself too thin, and have cash behind in case you need it.
Because then you can implode.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, with that, how much do you think technology will affect sort of the things that you're talking about? So you named a number of different things. Is there any kind of software or program that manages those things?
So, in terms of what?
Well, so like QuickBooks is for accounting.
Right.
Is there some kind of software that manages all the things that you just talked about? The things that you have to take into consideration?
So, in some of the projects I've worked on and seen with general contractors, there's programs to track your development. You can get online and buy modeling templates to model out all sorts of real estate development budgets and pro formas. But you're talking about what kind of software, right? Like software that has your templates in it and you can track it through. Yeah, there's stuff like that out there. But when you're talking about technology, is there a technology that's going to replace real estate agents or something like that?
Maybe not replace real estate agents, but replace a lot of...
There's all that stuff, right? So that's out there. But at the end of the day, there's tons of real estate agents out there.
I was going to say, that hasn't really affected it. How AI and as things get smarter, you'll be able to maybe grow your real estate better or, bigger as a real estate agent utilizing that. No, I'm not afraid of it.
Right. So I think, the best way to grow faster is to multiply yourself, whether that be through, having associates on your team that can do tasks that you just don't have time for. Maybe you're not the strongest at, or that just is not the best use of your time. Or through, I just blanked out right there. So either, tell me your question again.
So basically the question is, will technology be able to not replace real estate agents, but help them be able to grow? And then you started talking about being able to multiply.
Right. So you can do that through, multiplying your team, or I don't really know what kind of artificial intelligence you're going to use to. Because I'm just thinking about my business, right?
Right.
My business is, predominantly this year I've been focused on acquiring real estate, right?
Okay.
So there's not, I'm sure there's artificial intelligence out there. There's definitely mapping technologies. There definitely is mapping technologies out there that a lot of, retail brokers and developers use to see kind of the distance between, where they are between households and traffic counts, and competitors are where you need to put a specific retail concept or development or whatever, so your location is right. That stuff's out there. With my stuff, with just going out and acquiring stuff, I think that it has a lot to do with me looking and me seeing what's out there. So I can't really answer that question that well to see how artificial intelligence is going to replace people in finding deals, but I'm certain that there's artificial intelligence technology out there that streamlines developing, and there's certainly streamlines developing and managing and accounting and things like that.
So now let's shift it quickly towards more the influence part, social media, things of this nature. How much has that changed either your specific business or the real estate as an industry, or both? Yeah,
I think social media has changed every business, right? So from a marketing, branding perspective, if you want to build a following, then you need to be on those social media platforms. Again, it's not really wildly important for what I'm doing.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing is I'm acquiring revenue generating assets and trying to either reposition them to then turn around and sell them in the short term, or wanting to hold them long term and add value and push rents over 5 to 10 years.
But if you're pushing rent over 5 to 10 years, you have to market that somehow.
Right. But there's, so for our student housing, right, we have certain ways that we market that we find to be the most effective. And
Okay.
so for the specific product type that we're using, social media we haven't found to have the biggest bang for the buck, right? Because we know that, because I have a lot of student housing properties that cater to Greek life, right? Because they're homes with 4, 5, 6 bedrooms that a lot of, that big groups will stay in, right? So we know that they're typically going to come to us, or they're going to go to friends of theirs that are locators, and that's how they're going to lease. I've recently been buying real estate in another market, and it's another student housing market, and it's the same thing, right? Like, there's only a couple of managers that oversee student housing properties of this niche type, so they're going to go there. They know where to go, and then you reach out to the tenants. So kind of that referral system and face-to-face interaction. Now, if you look at like apartment complexes and like the Gables of the world, the Hamleys, and these people like that, or American campus communities, right? They've got tens of thousands of units, right? Like having their ads running and showing their specials, because with my student housing, right, we turn at one time of the year in the summer, so it's not like you're leasing up all the time throughout the year. And so we've just found that there's better bang for our buck to work with like locators in today's market. Now, certainly down the line, and it's happening more now, right? Like we do more online advertising through like a Zillow. Right?
Okay.
People search there, and Craigslist is actually a productive way for people to find stuff. Not so much for the student housing stuff, but I have a mixed-use building in Houston that's got some small retail, small creative office suites, and a little bit of residential. And the small office suites are from like 300 square feet to 1,000 square feet, and they're like artist studios, so we attract a lot of artists and small office users. And Craigslist has been really productive for that. But for the retail suites, we use LoopNet, and we use another commercial service. It's later in the day, my brain's a little foggy, but we use that sort of technology platforms, which is kind of like commercial MLSs, and then just always helping get your listings out to different brokers in the community, right? So you want to get it out to the people that are working with clients.
So, would you ever consider, have you heard of Facebook's new marketplace? That they're...
Yeah. I just don't think I don't think people think of Facebook's marketplace as a place to go to look for real estate needs. I think today, right?
Today.
Right.
But isn't that how real estate works? You have to find value before everybody else.
Well, if everybody else is not using it, then it doesn't really make sense.
Well, there are people using it, though.
Right, but it's like the market that I'm catering to is not really using it
yet.
Then it doesn't make sense for me to spend the capital in that direction.
Okay.
The marketing dollars there.
To invest the marketing dollars.
Right.
Not just list it like you would on Craigslist.
Craigslist, or send it out to apartment locators and brokers and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, from what I've heard is that even just having it there from a metadata standpoint, meaning the more places you can distribute Kline Properties or KlineProperties.com or whatever it is to a specific, to all these different platforms, the better chance that your name is going to come up on Zillow or come up on Google or wherever it is.
Yeah. So part of it might be that we've been 100% occupied in all of our student housing properties for 15 years.
Of course,
and so we've been using a specific way to do it, right? And the best way to catch these people is through locators and brokers and referrals and renewals and things like that. And I have tried AdWords. I've tried a lot of that stuff. I've tried it, yeah, and it's just not really worth the money. Now, as markets change and time changes, because my student housing stuff, we turn every year, right? Because they're 12-month leases, student housing stuff. So it gives you, every year it's a new thing. So if something, if we, you always want to try and be on the forefront of what's changing, but right now what we're doing has been working. So I don't really think it's necessary to spend the time or the resources to try and change it if it's not. Fix it if it's not broken. Now, that could be famous last words, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's like, Blockbuster Video and all that stuff, right? When Netflix came along, but we're trying to be conscious of what's going on. So this year is the first year I've moved into other markets outside of Austin.
Okay.
It's been real hard to find good cash flowing properties in Austin because, again, it's so competitive here and prices are so much higher. And the first time that we've worked with third-party management companies managing our stuff. And so because we have so much experience with property management, it helps us kind of monitor what's going on with these other management companies. And it's been a a pretty steep learning curve, but I feel like we've learned a lot so far, and it's been good. But so far things are working, and I'm trying to be conscious of the technology platforms and social media, and you start using words like metadata and stuff like that. I don't really know how that works. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I don't really know how to utilize it. So it's really all about trying to find the best ways to use my time on a day-to-day basis. And the best ways for me to use my time is to, find assets to acquire.
Exactly.
So.
Well, so in conclusion, probably your top 3 rules for success.
So my dad always says that you should show up on time, return your phone calls, and walk briskly. That's what he said.
Okay.
And do what you say you're going to do. And if you never lie, you don't have to remember what you said.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's a very true statement.
Yeah.
Kind of like doing the right thing is always the right thing.
That's right.
So one thing I do on the podcast every time is assume that 7 billion people are listening to this right now. If you could ask,
they are, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it might be 8 billion now. I'm not sure how many listeners.
Second over second $1 billion absorption, billion people absorption.
Is ask one question to the audience. If you could get feedback on a large scale, what would that question be to an audience?
Man, in terms of what? In real estate or
yeah, what? Or unless you have another direction that you want to go with it, but yeah, in real estate.
Oh man, I don't know. You put me on the spot.
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it could be a question as simple as, what you think that the next, what do you guys think the best marketing way to get in touch with you if you're looking to rent student property housing? What's the most, or, do you use Craigslist or Zillow more? Something like that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't have a question.
All right, fair enough. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Make sure you guys check him out. KlineProperties.com.
KPAustin.com.
KPAustin.com.
Yeah.
David Kline.
Good to be here. Steven Rosenberg in the house.
In the house. Thanks, guys. Okay, cool.
We good?
Yeah, I think it was good.
All right, cool.
Do you want to drink water or something like that? We'll just try to do the second one really quick. That was probably too drawn out.
Are you happy with that?
Are you happy with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of lost my train of thought in the middle.
Yeah, I know. I could tell that really pissed yourself off. I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
What were you thinking? I mean, is there a better way I could have gone about it with you?
No, it was good. I was just talking, and then I think my mind wandered a little bit while I was talking, and then I was like, oh, I forgot what the second thing was.
We went pretty deep in a couple of areas, so I thought that was good.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, do you think there is a way that it would be interesting to talk about it, maybe once a month, or some kind of topic that would be, even if it's not with you, just in general real estate, whether it's with the Endeavor guys, whether it's with, but something that gives people to look.
There's all sorts of topics, right? I mean, there's so much construction going on, so I think it'd be interesting to talk to these major players about the challenges in developing real estate, because they make it look so simple. People think it's so easy, but it's not. It's fucking hard. It's really hard to do. I can't talk about that because of the stuff that I'm dealing with right now, but if you can get people to talk about that, I think that's a really interesting part of the business, right? What it takes to build all of this.
You're right.
The money, right? And time, and the coordination, and the people, and the consultants, and just the foresight, and the patience, and all of it. And the fact where if your timing's off, it's off. And so C-Home was supposed to break ground in 2007, I think. C-Home with the condo building and the retail and everything like that.
Back then?
They were supposed to break ground in 2007, 2008. But they couldn't because the recession came.
Okay.
So I think that's interesting, but I mean, I'm happy to get on and talk more about it. I could talk a lot about this stuff, but so I'm happy to come on more often if you want, and get other people to talk about other things. So.
I definitely do. And so, what do you think those next things should be? Or what else, again, that we could really add value, to where people
why don't you ask people who listen to it what they want to know about?
Well, of course, I know, but what I'm trying to do is carve out as one specifically related around real estate.
Right.
Or real estate in Austin. I haven't decided fully.
I mean, what do you think people want to know? What do you want to know about real estate? You're starting in it.
Right. So, like, how do you do it? How do you start doing it? And then, like...
Talk about that. I mean, I think if you talk about stories...
But that's not going to...
I think stories about deals and how you do deals...
I think that would be cool.
That's more interesting, right? Yeah. Because it's like a case study and it's real applicable on what you're doing.
So, next time, could you talk about a specific story? Not the one that you're dealing with now, for obvious reasons, but, like, a story?
Sure.
Or could you talk about it where it's, like, in a broad enough way where it's not giving any specifics about anything, but just like hypothetically, if these things were to happen, what would that look like?
Yeah.
You think that would be okay?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Do you want to do this? I'm ready to do this. I'm Jewish one.
Sure, but I gotta go in like 10 minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
I only have it till 6.
Oh, I guess you only have till 6.
Yeah.
So. Go ahead.
Alright.
Yeah.
How you guys doing? My name is Stephen Rosenberg, and welcome to Jewish and Newish Podcast. I have a very special guest, David Kline, who is a real estate mogul here in Austin, Texas, as well as a very heavily involved member in the Jewish community. And he's done a lot of wonderful things, both for the Jewish community as well as the Austin community. And we're excited to talk to you guys today. David, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit in terms of what you've done in the Jewish community, give a little background.
Sure. Well, in the Austin Jewish community, I moved here back in 1999 to go to college. And after I got done with college and realized it's to make more of an effort to meet people when you get out of college, I started getting involved in young adult division events within the Austin Jewish community, and just started going to things like happy hours and other events like that. And then throughout the past 10, 12 years, I've sat on a lot of different committees and boards. I've been on National Young Leadership Cabinet through Jewish Federation North America. I've done the Young Leadership Program in the Austin Jewish community. I did the Glass Leadership Institute with ADL. I've done the ROI community, which is part of the Schusterman Foundation. Just been real active within Jewish life. Right now I'm co-chairing with my girlfriend and another couple in the community the first Austin community-wide event called Ignite. That's in March 25th, 2018 at the JW. So I grew up in a Jewish community in Columbia, South Carolina. It was a much smaller community, but Judaism and my Judaism was always important to me and my family, and it was a tight-knit, smaller community, but it was really important growing up.
So, becoming an adult, as you will, with quotes around it, you know, what made you stick with it? So I agree, you know, when you're a kid and you have that influence from your parents, you know, like, it's very important. And then I think there's a divide of, like, when you become a quote-unquote adult, of, you know, how does that stay important? I mean, first of all, that list is, like, somewhat, you know, that's pretty cool. I mean, I wanted to be like, what, that's it? That's all you did? Really?
Yeah. Well, there's some more stuff in there left out.
Oh, go ahead, please. Spew it.
No,
you should. I think you should. It's important.
Well, the Maccabi games were in Austin in 2013, so I was delegation head for the Austin community.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, so the Young Adult Division, before this community event, had a Young Adult Division annual event called Milestone, where each year there's an honoree, so I was the first honoree for that.
You were the first honoree?
I was, yeah.
See, that was one of my first events here in Austin, was getting a Milestone.
Yeah.
You were the first one?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big deal. I think.
Thanks. Just other stuff like that, boards, committees. I've been on 6 study missions with Jewish Federation North America all over the world. The last one was in India this past February. Just a lot of different stuff, a lot of cool experiences. I've seen a lot of really good things, and I've seen some negative things.
Okay.
I think anytime you get involved in any sort of organization, especially one as big as Jewish Community, Jewish Federation, you're gonna find that and learn about that. But for this conversation, we'll keep it topical and light.
Of course.
It's been, you know, a really good experience to date.
Yeah.
To date.
And in pushing forward, both, you know, in your own personal life as well as just, you know, I guess having a sense of responsibility as a Jew to push that forward. Right. You know, what do you think some of the core pillars that you think you're going to instill in the next generation, whether it's your own unborn children or, not, just in general?
Well, I think that, the biggest problem with Judaism and the growth of Judaism and just kind of, non-profits and community building outside the Jewish community is that we just don't live in a very philanthropic world. So people are not brought up to be philanthropic. And I think more so within the Jewish community, with our generation and the other generations after us that are coming up, the need is not there like it was when our grandparents and great-grandparents and were immigrating to America. And they had to stay a community because that's what they need to survive. So for better or worse, there's been a lot of success within the Jewish community, financially, and the state of Israel was established, and even in the worst neighborhood in the world, Israel is a leading innovator in the world, and a major. It's a very impressive place and just an amazing place to be. But because of all of this success, mind you, there's still a lot of challenges, tremendous challenges,
right,
that need the community to stay strong. The need wasn't there like it was, right? So there's from a financial perspective, from a community building perspective, because the need wasn't there as much, it wasn't instilled in the next generation like it was. And I think that's what we're seeing now, is that you have some attrition going on and assimilation going on, and because of that, the sense of Judaism is going away. And I think I think the business model of Jewish community building is outdated. So I think in the past it's been very campaign centric, right? Like, you got to give because it's what you're supposed to do, and you have to do it to grow the community, because if not us, then who? If not now, then when, right? And that's what they've always said, and that's what we continue to say, right? Well, I think because things have changed so much, that message doesn't work so much. And I think the campaign centric business model, where you hit somebody up once a year and say, hey, we need your money, thanks, we'll see you next year, or come out to the one event, thanks, see you next year, without any sort of community building is not working. And so I think, a business model that relates to community building and outreach and engagement needs to be there. They're not mutually exclusive. Outreach and engagement and campaigning, they go together. It's like if you take somebody out on a date, you don't take them out for a date and then immediately try to take them to bed, right? Like, you want to get to